What do I need to know about this whole home buying process? Is it as hard as people tend to make it out to be?
There's a lot of steps. When you're working with a realtor, they're going to handle a lot of them and just let you know what you need to do when you need to do it. So
It's Friday, everybody. And it's time now for your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast. He's back in the studio. The one, the only, John Brodeen. How are you, man?
Hey, good. How are you?
I try to make these intros as fancy as I can for you, but and I try to build you up. But how you been?
Good.
We talked on Wednesday. A couple of days have passed. Friday today, thank goodness.
Yeah.
We're finally getting a little bit of rain.
I
But
know.
you got big plans for the weekend?
I am not sure about this weekend. Last weekend we had a crazy weekend. So I think we might be just. There's always stuff that pops up though. My wife's kind of the scheduler of everything, so there might be something I don't know about.
Oh, it's Fair Week too.
Oh yeah.
You know what we forgot to do?
What's that?
We forgot to play your commercial.
That's okay. We can keep it rolling.
Okay, we'll play it at the end. How's that? Yeah. I got a little ahead of myself. You know, the thing is, I was so keyed up for it being Friday that I didn't even think about it. So, fair, maybe yes.
I probably not.
No, when the kid gets a little older.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun when you can put them in those little kiddie rides and stuff.
She would know no different right now.
Yeah. and I'm sure you don't want to get them hooked on that ever so good Fair food.
Yeah. I know.
I mean, it's so nutritious and jeez, I love Fair food. When you can hear your arteries harden when you're eating, it's good stuff.
That's how you know it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Say I want to buy a house. Never bought one. Have no clue. So I called you.
Yes.
And I'm like, John Brodeen, you were recommended to me at Berkshire Hathaway. What do I need to know about this whole home buying process? Is it as hard as people tend to make it out to be?
There's a lot of steps. When you're working with a realtor, they're going to handle a lot of them and just let you know what you need to do when you need to do it. So, but a lot of people want to know what has to go on and what to expect. And I prefer, if my clients have an idea of what's going on and they're more educated about the process, then we both kind of are on the same page, which is great.
Okay.
So, first thing you're going to do is get pre-approved. We're going to go house shopping. We're going to look at houses. Once you find the one, you're going to offer on it. We're going to negotiate. And once the seller accepts our offer, that's when the contract to close process starts. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to deposit your earnest money check, either electronically or with an actual check. That's going to go to the listing company's trust account, and that's going to be held there until closing, where it's going to go towards your cash to close.
Okay.
You can lose this. Only way in most cases you can lose it, unless there's a different way we draw up the contract, is if you were to get final loan approval, you were past home inspection, past appraisal, you remove those contingencies, and then you just decided you changed your mind and
back out.
Yep.
Okay. That makes sense, though.
Yeah. In almost every case, the earnest money is going to be put towards your cash to close. And if you had to back out for one of those reasons, you would be refunded it. Usually you do that the same day or the day after offer acceptance. Then you need to set up your home inspection if your offer is contingent upon a home inspection. So usually you're going to do this, just within a day or two, maybe the week of offer acceptance. Typically the way we write the contracts is you have like 2 weeks to get your home inspection and any resulting negotiations done. So the home inspection is usually going to take place within, about a week after offer acceptance, a week to 10 days. And then you typically have 14 days to do any negotiations if you need to negotiate some repairs from the seller, or maybe some credits or something like that before you remove your inspection contingency. So after that, the appraisal and the inspection are two different things. Inspection is hired by you as the home buyer. You get to pick who does it. It's not a pass or fail inspection. It's just a visual inspection of all the main components of the property, making sure everything's working properly. And you get to do with that whatever you want. It could be a terrible inspection. You could decide not to ask for anything and move forward. It could be just a few minor things. This is very frowned upon, but you could still back out during that inspection period, even if the report wasn't terrible, which that's not a good thing. That is probably like realtor's worst nightmare. But
does that happen that often?
It happened to me.
It did,
2 weeks
huh?
ago on a listing I was selling.
Okay.
Yeah. So appraisal is different than home inspection. Appraisal is ordered by the bank. The bank doesn't even have any control over which appraiser picks it up.
Okay.
The bank just puts the order out there, and it goes into kind of a random rotation. An appraiser picks up
Sure.
the job. The appraiser is going to go to the house and walk through it. You are not going to be with the appraiser when they do this. There's nothing needed from you at this point. You just need to order the appraisal, which you usually pay for it up front.
Okay.
And this is all through your lender. The appraisal goes and walks through the house. It's usually within a month after offer acceptance, probably earlier. And then they are going to start working on their appraisal report. So usually they're going to submit the appraisal report back to the bank within maybe like 5 to 14 days after walking through the house. And it's going to be, it's probably 30 pages long or something like that. It's going to give their opinion of value. So that's the main purpose of the appraisal, is the appraiser has to say it's worth at or above what you agreed to pay the seller for the house. The bank doesn't want you buying a house and using their money to pay more than what the house is worth.
Right,
essentially.
right.
That bank doesn't want to be underwater on it. They don't want you to be underwater on it. So purpose number one of the appraisal, make sure that the value is at or above what the agreed upon purchase price is. There are some exceptions to this where in a hot market, a buyer will offer to pay over appraised value, or a buyer, if they have a lot of cash, will waive their appraisal contingency, where the appraisal still happens, but even if the value comes in low, the set price is the set price.
Sure.
They're not going to negotiate it down. The other thing that the appraiser does on a government loan, like a USDA loan, an FHA loan, or a VA loan, is they're going to make sure that the property meets the said loan type's property condition requirements. So, for example, like on a VA loan, FHA, USDA, they don't allow the house to have any chipped and peeling paint.
Sure.
They require there to be handrails on steps over X number of steps. They require the property to be in like basically livable condition and stuff like that. So,
which makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the other thing that the appraiser is going to be double checking on. Once the appraisal is complete, no repairs are required by the appraisal, and the value is good, then your appraisal contingency has been fulfilled and it's removed. Next step is getting final loan approval. So this whole time, you're involved in this one as the home buyer, because every time the lender requests a document from you, you're going to be getting them updated pay stubs, updated bank statements, any additional documentation you need to get them for larger deposits in your bank account, that sort of thing. You're going to be providing them with all this stuff that their underwriting team is going to be requesting. Once you've gotten them everything they need, you're going to get final loan approval. So usually this is it has to be at least 3 business days prior to closing. Or else closing is going to get delayed. It can be earlier than that. It could be a week or 2 before closing. A lot of it's going to depend also on how early the appraisal gets put in.
Okay.
So once you have final loan approval, you've kind of made it through everything. The seller is going to get moved out of the house. They're going to get the house cleaned up. You're going to call utility companies, get all the utilities put in your name to start on the closing date. You're going to set up your final walkthrough. You're going to conduct your final walkthrough usually within 24 hours of closing, making sure the home is in the same condition as when you originally walked through it.
Yep.
Making sure any repairs from home inspection have been completed. So you conduct your final walkthrough, and it could be you do the final walkthrough at 10 and you go to the closing office at 11. Sign all the paperwork, and this is the point where you're going to get the keys. You've signed all your loan docs. Funds have been transferred from the buyer's lender to the title company and then dispersed to the seller and the seller's bank to pay off their loan. So all the money has gone where it needs to go. The sale is complete at this point. Usually this closing happens right now it's pretty fast because there's not very many refis happening. So the appraisers are able to get out there quicker. We saw it get all the way up to like 60 days when there was a ton of refinances happening. Rates are low and appraisers are busy. So right now it's anywhere probably from like 35 to 45 days is the average. So that's when the house is actually yours. It's not like you get an offer signed and you get to move in the next week. So it's a little different than renting an apartment. It's a little bit more involved process, a lot more steps. The more prepared you can be for this, the better. Keep your banking simple so you don't have to provide a whole bunch of extra documentation. Don't make any large like cash deposits into your bank account that you can't explain where it came from.
Don't buy a new boat or a new car or a new snowmobile.
You've heard this before. Don't take out any new loans. Don't make any big purchases. Avoid trying to shuffle money up between accounts a whole lot, because that's just going to be more bank statements you're going to provide. Like if you want just one account involved in this thing, that keeps it the simplest. Don't shuffle money between accounts a whole bunch. Keep everything simple. Don't put a whole bunch of stuff on your credit card. Keep your credit card balances about where they were at before, because you don't want to change your debt to income ratio if you're on the borderline.
Right. And you know, John, you know, what people need to know about the home buying process, what you're saying, a lot of it is it takes time.
Yep.
It takes time unless you have got a lot of cash.
Yes.
This could take 35, 45 days. It could take 60 days.
Yep.
But there are so many things that you have just even mentioned on this little podcast about things that come up, things to do, things not to do. What it boils down to is if you are thinking about buying a home, they need to get hold of a realty expert sooner than later.
Yep.
I mean, if you're thinking, boy, by the end of the summer, it would be so nice to have our own home, you should be talking to you now.
Now, yep, they should be. The people who have the best success after years of doing this and selling hundreds of homes, the people who have the best success, the most stress-free process, the fewest surprises, the people who get the best outcomes, they're the ones who get in touch with me the earliest and start relying on my advice from the early stages. That's how you get the most value out of my services, because you know it is the seller that's paying for my commission that I get at closing, but it's your funds that are paying the seller that the commission is getting taken out of. So you want to make sure you get the maximum value for this. I should preface this by saying, like, if you just go straight to the listing agent's just going to get both sides of the commission. So by going straight to the listing agent, you're not getting like a better deal on the house, but you want to get the maximum value out of my services. And that's funny you mentioned that about cash. I'll touch on this really quick.
Okay.
Buying a home with cash eliminates pretty much all these steps.
Right.
So there's no need for an appraisal. There's no need for bank underwriting. You can skip a home inspection if you want to. You can do that even if you're buying with a loan. Basically, the only thing that happens when you're buying a home with cash is the title work needs to get completed, and that can be done in like 14 days.
Yeah.
So you can close much faster.
Yeah, my son, when he sold his first home down in Fargo, he had many offers, and they just kept coming. Finally, and this was all at the first day of showing, or that it was on the market. Finally, you know, right away in the morning, he'd already had 2 offers, and the third one came in and said, I'll go way more, and I'm paying cash.
Yeah.
Boom. Done deal.
Yeah.
Just like that. Yeah. Cash is big. But buying a house, it can be very stressful.
Yep.
But you guys help take some of that stress away. You try to make it as nice and smooth as possible.
Yep. Taking the stress away, preparing you for everything you're about to experience, helping you out, you know, giving you that expertise and that kind of calm, steady advice through the whole thing is going to make it much easier on a home buyer. So,
and you know, if I am in the process of buying a home, and you are my agent that I have been working with, if I have a question on a Friday night at 9:00 at night, do I have to wait till Monday morning at 9 a.m. to get a hold of John or not?
No, I'm texting clients at 9:00 at night almost every night. So that's just the nature of the business. I'm always here for the clients that I'm working with, so that's normal.
You're a pretty easygoing guy.
Yeah.
Do you shut your phone off ever?
No, the only time I don't really have my phone on me is when I'm at the gym for a couple hours each night, but then I catch up on everything as soon as I leave. So
and you know what? Not all realtors or so-called realtors can say that. How does somebody get a hold of realty expert John Brodeen?
So 701-213-5428 is my cell. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I'm posting content almost daily on all those platforms. Lots of easy to digest, short videos explaining things about the home buying process, explaining things about home selling, explaining things about the market. You'll learn a lot if you check me out on those social media platforms.
All right. And we hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah.
No matter what you end up doing. And the show was kind of goofy today. I forgot to do something at the beginning, so we'll wrap it up with playing the commercial at the end. But there you go. For the week, that's your Berkshire Hathaway bi-weekly podcast.